1981. Questioner: when I meditate, I fall asleep. What can I do to overcome that? Maharaj: don't raise this problem at all with me. You are in the three states, the waking deep sleep state and the knowledge you are. So why are you dealing with the state which you are not? Why are you interested? It is spontaneously happening. You have to understand that when you are being stabilized in a state prior to waking state, deep sleep, prior to words, and even prior to consciousness, something happens in your body state without your doing it. Leave it alone. Don't ask questions about that. You are on this side, and if something is happening, why are you worried about it? Be yourself. If you are yourself, you need not worry about what is happening at the other end. You are interested in your experiential state. There are so many experiences, such as, I saw blue light, I went up, etc. Don't tell me all those things. Be yourself and not the experiences. This is also a temporary phase, and you are giving it undue importance by saying, oh, it is something. It happens naturally. There was a gentleman who came to me, and he told me he would start crying and sobbing for about 10 minutes when he meditated. He thought it was a very great thing that happened to him in the process of self-realization. What is the point of getting excited and saying, oh, I started crying? So what? You are not the one crying. You are not your emotions, are you? So many people come to Maharaj to tell him of the spiritual experiences which they have undergone through meditation, just to show people, I am something. When you fall into sleep, be alert and remind yourself that I am the manifest Brahman at that moment on the borderline. During the course of sleep, your transcendence is prior to mind and continues during sleep also. If you fall into sleep reciting japa and at midnight you wake up, you will find that japa continuing. If you are alert, be aware of yourself and you will see light in the deepest recesses of your core.
So what he's indicating here is that we are aware in deep sleep. The most recent image that I like to use is if you close your eyes, you are not blind. You are seeing the back of your eyelids. That's all deep sleep is. The veil of deep sleep comes down and I illumine it. If I have to get up to pee, it's like opening your eyes. When I go back to bed, but it's not the same as being unconscious. You do not disappear. And we prove that with the law of memory. Did I sleep well last night? You do not know. You weren't there. Did you sleep well last night? If so, how are you able to remember it? Means you were there to experience the folding up of the mind into deep sleep. The other point that he's getting at here is as we commit ourselves to a meditative practice, various phenomena will occur. And he's saying, no big deal. We're not particularly concerned with the phenomenon, but who knows them, the noumenon, I think they say in philosophy. Any thoughts on this? All right, going on.
June 11th, 1981. Maharaj, what do you know about your body? What is it, and what are you? Body is the form or shape. The taste of the food body is the knowledge I am. What is your identity which you feel or experience in this body? Your words are all right, but are you the words? You are wearing the clothes, but are you the clothes? There is no permanent form. The body continuously changes. So long as you identify yourself with the body, you will not have satisfaction. This is the space. I am not the space. You must have the firm conviction about your own self. You must have that deep urge to know yourself. Grace is always there. Your first conviction that you are, which is prior to words, to that you have given the form of a body. Give up this bodily identity. Prior to words, you are. Just be that. Questioner, how can I be that? Maharaj, whatever you are, don't give it any shape or design, that is all. If you are there, then everything else is. Worshipping books and being devoted to books will lead you nowhere. Be yourself. Be devoted to yourself. Worship only that. Worship the knowledge I am as a God, as your guru. Do you see the image of yourself in the mirror first, or do you know you are prior to that? Which is first? If you are not, can you see your image in the mirror? Give up trying to evaluate the real I or the counterfeit I, but associate the I with the Brahman. I am the Brahman. Whatever you have heard is good enough for you. No further listening to any such knowledge is necessary. Whatever you have listened to so far is good enough for you if you imbibe that and abide in it. Nothing more will be available to you. You are the Brahman in totality, nothing more. Unfortunately, you have conditioned yourself to believe that you, the Brahman, are the body. Now you know that you are not the body. Why are you overwhelmed by that counterfeit bodily identity, I? You have a lot of knowledge, but it pertains to the practical world. So far, you have not got the knowledge of the self. I will not talk about that worldly knowledge. It does not end here. This is the world. The world is covered by the space. The knowledge of space is there. The space is contained in the knowledge I am, and prior to I am is Chidakash. Chidakash, I amness, is the source of the universe. Chidakash is the root of the mind space. There can't be any knowledge of I am like this or I am like that. You cannot be like this or that. Because of the Chidakash, Mahakash, the great space, is there. The space of the world is there because of the space of the mind, or prior to mind. One space is covered by more subtle and more expansive space. At the base of that space is the knowledge I am. If one abides in the Chidakash knowledge, one will realize that one has no birth and no death. June 14th.
Let me just, for those who may not understand the term, Chidakash, Chit, Akasha. Chit means pure awareness, Akasha means space. So the space of pure awareness. So if you tune up the mind and say, listen to the traffic, and then notice who or what hears the traffic. It's just being heard in the space of consciousness itself. That space of pure awareness is Chidakash. Going on.
June 14th, 1981. Questioner, continuous daily activity is making the mind dull. I want to know how to make the mind alert. Maharaj, I do not speak about the body mind and what goes on in the world. I talk only about your true nature, and your true nature is the sense of presence you have, this consciousness. If you are not conscious, then there is no world for you. There is nothing there. The world exists for you only when you are conscious. So it is about this consciousness, this sense of presence that I talk. Once this sense of present comes, how you act and what you do in the world, I don't deal with. This sense of presence, this consciousness, is it not prior to anything else? Even thinking about anything for which you have come, for which you have to use your mind, if you are not conscious, can any thought come? Therefore, this sense of presence, this consciousness, is it not the primary thing without which nothing else can happen? Nothing, no thoughts, no concepts can arise by themselves. No activity can arise if the sense of presence is not there. The sense of presence does not need any activity of the mind to know that you are present. You do not have to ask yourself, am I present? Am I conscious? There is that intuitive sense of presence. You know you are present. This sense of presence, it is not the sense that I am present, you are present, or any individual is present. The sense of presence is the sense of presence as such. Because one identifies with his body, he thinks he is born and is going to die. What is born is the general sense of presence as such. The sense of presence, which has come spontaneously, will leave spontaneously. There is no individual except through identification with the body. The sense of time or duration or the event happening in time, all that can come about only if there is consciousness. If there is no consciousness, do you have the sense of time? There is the wick and there is the fuel. Only then can the light be there. So the light depends on the duration of the fuel. That is how the time factor comes in. The sense of presence, this consciousness, is everything. So find out how that arises and how long it is going to last. Just as the light will remain only as long as there is fuel for it, so this consciousness will last only so long as this fuel is there. Fuel being the body, which is made of the 5 elements, which are an accumulation of food. If the food is not supplied constantly to the body will not last. And if the body will not last, then the consciousness will not last. Therefore, this consciousness will depend on how long the body is there. Even this consciousness is not everything, and it is not going to last for all time. Find out how that consciousness has arisen, the source of the consciousness. What is this body? The body is only the accumulation of food and water. This food and water are certainly not you, and this consciousness is merely the nature of this food and water. Therefore, you are something separate from either the body or this consciousness. So long as the body is there, anyone who considers himself an individual has as his only capital the sense of presence, this consciousness. Treat that as the highest God and worship nothing else other than the sense of presence and what you are one with. And when you are one with the sense of presence, then whatever is necessary by way of spiritual knowledge will sprout by itself. If you have any problems or questions with which you are concerned, you will find these problems and questions are based on your identity with the body and mind as an individual. If that identification is not there, then no questions can arise. You will come to this conclusion. June 16, 1981. Maharaj, each one does his own work, but each one has his own quality. Here are some tests to know whether you are on the spiritual path or not. Investigate what you are thinking of during the 24-hour day. You say you got the knowledge of the self. You have collected the knowledge of the self. Nevertheless, during the whole day, what are you discussing inside, in your mind flow? You are discussing all your daily affairs. You don't discuss the way the discussions are going on here about your identity, about what you are. That you don't discuss. Is there anybody who discusses with himself only about the self? You are according the quality of the intensity of your thinking. Oh, you are according to the quality of the intensity of your thinking. I also am restless. The type of pain and misery I am now undergoing, nobody else in my place experiences in the world. This talk is not for the consumption of all. Beyond the realm of consciousness arising from the body, there is no experience of consciousness. I want to talk about that state beyond the realm of consciousness. There are millions of names, but all these names relate to the objective world. Even the title of parents is also due to the bodies. As a result of the body, this title of parents has arisen. I want you to understand clearly that without the bodily consciousness, there is no Brahman. The Brahman is because the consciousness is, and consciousness is because the body is. The body consciousness is the result of the 5 elements. Body consciousness and the world are not different. They are identical. Ponder over this in this fashion. Whatever is grasped by the mind and intellect is this objective world. Although you have heard these talks, still you will be carried away by your conceptual experiences. This body is made of food, but what is your true identity? It is something like the body having completely adjusted, like the grains which you have stored being completely adjusted. This is food only. This is the food body and the consciousness. The Absolute is your true identity. I have given you some indication of the Absolute. You have not surpassed the consciousness, and consciousness is the first step. Total consciousness is not the end. June 18, 1981. Maharaj. Actually, Jim, I have a question.
Yes.
He said that without the bodily consciousness, there is no Brahman.
I have no idea what he meant by that.
Okay.
I heard it too.
I was like, huh? Okay.
I have no idea.
Okay.
What I think he might be implying, and it may be a translation issue, without the body consciousness, there's no knowledge of Brahman as your identity.
Mm.
So if you have the insight, I am not the ego, I'm not the body. Instead, I am Brahman. That exists in the world of Maya.
Saying the concept of Brahman doesn't exist without body
Even
consciousness.
the insight of the direct experience. That aha is different than Swayambhu, the actual experience. When are you ever not you? But remember, the most miserable of creatures does not lack the direct experience of Brahman.
Yeah.
Did you have a bad day this week?
Probably, yeah.
Did you cease to exist on the bad day?
No.
Were you aware of the bad day? Yeah. So you cannot deny that. But the knowledge, my day sucks, or, oh, I had a good day, That's all stuff that's happening in the subtle intellect. And if here the mind gets tuned up and everything drops away, and you're in the mind state of great peace, of the pure sattvic mind, where I know I am that partless Brahman. Brahman is not even that. That's a mind state.
Mhm.
Do you see that?
Mhm.
Now, I love the frame that Yoga Vasishtha uses. Both bondage and liberation occur to the mind. Technically speaking, it happens in the Vijnanamaya Kosha, subtlest part of the intellect. The self is ever free. And I like to say we're dealing with, in essence, two kinds of knowledge here. There is a real knowledge with a capital R. And this is a knowledge that is beginningless and endless and changeless. And that is the direct experience of yourself. Classic meditation to get to the understanding of that is we look at what we call the triple factor, the triple D. All knowledge of the world is known through the triple factor. I am the knower, for example, seeing is the means of knowledge, candle is the object of knowledge. I am the knower, manas, mind is the means of knowledge, feeling is the object of knowledge. I am the knower, buddhi, the intellect, is the means of knowledge, thought is the object of knowledge. How do you know you are you? You do not see, hear, taste, touch, smell, feel, or think yourself. You never doubt that you are. Unless you're a shunyavada, Scully is still the void. I do not exist. Oh, and to whom did that occur? That thought. The not me. It's unverifiable. So the scripture uses the word swayambhu or swayam jyoti, self-effulgent, self-luminous. It's a kind of knowledge that's different than the knowledge of the phenomenal world, gross and subtle. But the great cosmic joke is everybody already has it. Most miserable of creatures has it. So where is the problem? Problem is my stupid mind. What is my bondage? Just as Maharaj is saying, in my stupid mind, I think I'm my body. Or my body plus my personality. I think I'm a person. I think I'm an individual. What is liberation? Liberation is nothing more than the deeply rooted conviction in the mind. Not that I'm a Mahatma, not that I'm now an enlightened person. Oh, I have an awakened mind. But everything mental is illusory. And I am Brahman. Now listen carefully. That insight that comes from direct experience, one of the technical terms I like is pratyabhignana. That's the recognition. That's the aha. Oh, nobody there. Now, in the end, even that, forget it. We finished Vivekachudamani on Monday. And in the end, Shankara says, there is no bondage. There is no liberation. There is no guru. There is no shishya. There is no scripture. All of it is illusion. Only is real. But that recognition allows the mind to, as Swamiji would say, commit harakiri, to commit psychic suicide. It is the mind that sees its own unreality. And even that doesn't affect Brahman. When are you ever not you? And what Maharaj is saying is, don't be concerned about this world. Your stupid little life, and your stupid little mind, and your stupid little memories, and your stupid little traumas. They're phantoms. Is that useful? Any other questions on this? Listen very carefully. This work is not about acquiring knowledge or achieving Brahman or becoming an enlightened person. It's about removing bullshit. And it's all bullshit. It's all the mind does. Pay it no heed. Going on.
June 18th, 1981. Maharaj, people come here because they feel there is a need to come. The consciousness in your body feels pleasure in coming here. So long as consciousness feels the need of anything, you will be compelled to do it. When consciousness leaves, there will be no more bondage. Other than this sense of presence, which we have because of consciousness, what has anybody got? The real happiness, without its counterpart, can only be there when consciousness leaves. So long as consciousness is there, so long is happiness and unhappiness there. Pure happiness can only be there when consciousness is not there. Whatever can be perceived is totally different from what I am. I have understood my Swarupa, and I am that. It has nothing to do with whatever is manifested. You can
I
never
mean, just Swarupa means my self form, my real nature. Going on.
You can never isolate yourself from the consciousness unless consciousness is pleased with you and gets rid of you. Consciousness opens the gate for you to transcend consciousness. There are two aspects. One is conceptual, dynamic consciousness, which is full of concepts, and the other is transcendent consciousness. Even the concept I am is not there. Conceptual, qualitative Brahman, the one that is full of concepts and is qualitative, is the outcome of the functioning body. This consciousness is dead to me. It is gone. I have transcended that. So whatever is that other consciousness, that one which is without concepts. The principle that is conceptual and full of qualities, which I transcended, was like a very big ocean. Now it is mostly dried up, just the dregs remain. Only a very little bit is still there, only a few particles. What is pervading and prevailing is without concept or quality. What remains is talking to you now. Where is the question of birth or death for that remaining principle? You, with your wisdom, are stuck here. You are sticking to certain concepts. If you had no concepts, why should you come here? You study only those concepts which arise from within you. Those concepts which you do not like will not occur to you. Suppose you do not like mathematics. That subject will not appeal to you. It is a stranger to your concepts. You will be involved with only those subjects or matters which you like. Analyze your thoughts and see if this is not true. Find out the nature of your thoughts. Are they spiritual? I abide in the state where there is no mind. June 19, 1981. Maharaj. All happenings are only in body consciousness. Personalities only exist in body consciousness. The usual knowledge is concerned only with the body image. You are not the body, you are the consciousness. There is no imprint of personality. It is the manifest consciousness which is functioning. This dynamic manifest consciousness is always in a fluid state. What will happen, no one can say. This dynamic consciousness does not have any concept that something good or bad is going to happen to it. It is just happening. No one is doing it. The message, I am, is there. The mind flow is also there. It is not a personality, it is the consciousness. The very idea that you are the body is ridiculous. The consciousness is experiencing its manifestation. A rare being will realize this. The worldly life of a Jnani means the total functioning of consciousness. Normally, a person who is always thinking of others as personalities will not think of others simply as a function in consciousness. The play of the consciousness will not come down to an individual level. It is quite different. It is manifestation only. Are you not a disciple of a great sage? How many years have you been going to him? Questioner, for 7 or 8 years. Maharaj, then why did you come here? Questioner, I wanted to have your darshan. I wanted to meet you. Maharaj, when you are stabilized in your own self, then there is no otherness. You are everything. If you abide in yourself, you are like space, and there is no duality left. You are as expansive and as subtle as the space, and that is liberation. You are not conditioned by any name or form. If you are like space, what is the point of going elsewhere? The space which is here is also everywhere else. Spirituality is not a child's play. My sentences will tear to pieces the doubts of anyone who listens to them. First of all, you abide in your own self and transcend it. And in transcending, you will realize your ultimate. The words emanating here are not borrowed knowledge, which is available in scriptures and other books. This is from direct experience. Nirupana means the normal practice of these professional spiritual people. They will be expounding knowledge from various books. You must thoroughly understand what you are, and what you are could be nothing. Oh. You must thoroughly understand what you are, or what you could be when nothing is. When nothing is, you still are. What is that you? It is all one, and when everything is, still you are. That is understandable. But when nothing is, how can I be? June 21st, 1981, in the morning. Maharaj, any image you have of yourself is not true. True knowledge is to abide in your own self. Try to understand all this knowledge which you are now gathering. The so-called knowledge you get elsewhere talks only about ignorance. It cannot talk about the self, true knowledge. All of what is pursued by the mind, it is not true knowledge. True knowledge cannot be understood easily. If I had the experience I am before, would I care to enter the womb of my mother? Prior to entering the womb, I did not know myself. There was no knowledge of I amness. All so-called knowledge is tainted by words, which is only ignorance. You, the absolute, watch the waking state. You know the consciousness. You know the sleeping state. Therefore, you are not that. Among the millions of people who have come and gone, where am I counted among them? There is no individuality connected with any of those forms, but I have always been, and I am the total functioning. Without me, the functioning cannot take place. I am the total functioning every moment, millions of years ago or now. In spite of my clearly understanding the foregoing, the bodily suffering has to be undergone because of the consciousness. The name of the consciousness is suffering itself. The life of suffering is nearly over. Whatever this principle is, together with the body and consciousness, it is experiencing all the sufferings and knows itself that it is worth millions of dollars, like a keg of gold. This principle, which has understood and realized what the suffering and the consciousness is worth millions. I do not follow the spirituality of the masses. In this place, spirituality of the common type will not be doled out to you. That ultimate can never be lost. Whatever you have lost only the words. That ultimate you knows or that ultimate you knows or feels I am without words. Through this I am comes the world knowledge. You are not in isolation, you are part and parcel of the world knowledge. Jivatman is the one who identifies with the body-mind as an individual separate from the world.
Okay, again, let's define the term. Atman means self. Jivatman is what some scriptures use to describe the sense of individuality, as opposed to Paramatman's supreme self. So he's talking about the ego sense going on.
Jivatman is the one who identifies with the body-mind as an individual separate from the world. The Atman is only beingness, or the consciousness, which is the world. The ultimate principle which knows this beingness cannot be named at all. It cannot be approached or conditioned by any words. That is the ultimate state. I do not want meek and humble disciples. I want them to be powerful as I am. I do not make disciples, I make gurus. I want you to jump in the test tube in the process of this I want you to jump in the test tube in the process of this investigation. June 20.
Oh, I like that. So when you do an experiment, you're examining what's in the test tube. And what he's saying is, you be in the test tube. Examine yourself. That's what he's saying.
June 21st, 1981, in the evening. Questioner, how can I stay stable in awareness? Maharaj, you know you are. That itself is awareness. If you think that you have to be aware, then it becomes an experiential state. You want to experience something. Don't recognize your body as yourself. That is all right for your daily worldly affairs, identifying with the body. But when you have to understand yourself, don't understand that you are the body. You have the knowledge I am. That itself means you are. Awareness is that state in which the consciousness subsides into itself. This body is the expression of the product of the food consumed. Material is consumed in the form of food, and this is the result. When the food becomes less and less, the body is bound to become emaciated, become thin. This is not your identity. This is not your image. This is a tiffin box, referring to the body. Why has this base gone lean? Because the food supply has been reduced. The food body, you are not. The waking state, you are not. The deep sleep state, you are not. You know the waking state. Since you know the waking state, you are not the waking state. You know the deep sleep state, therefore you are not the deep sleep state. Questioner, I am lost. Maharaj, that ultimate you can never be lost. Whatever you have lost only the words. Who told you that you were lost? You know you are. I am. The moment the feeling I am appears, the world also appears. You are is not alone in isolation. You are part and parcel of the world knowledge. In the consciousness hierarchy, there are 3 stages. First stage is Jivatman. Jivatman is the one who identifies himself with the body-mind. One who thinks, I am a body, a personality, an individual apart from the world. He excludes and isolates himself from the world as a separate personality because of identification with the body and the mind. The second stage. Next, only to the beingness or the consciousness, which is the world. I am means my whole world, just being and the world. Together with the beingness, the world is also felt. That is Atman.
That is what?
Atman. Third stage. The ultimate principle that knows this beingness cannot be termed at all. It cannot be approached or conditioned by any words. That is the ultimate state. The hierarchy I explain in common words, like, I have a grandson. That is Jivatma. I have a son, and I am the grandfather. Grandfather is the source of the son and grandson. The three stages cannot be termed as knowledge. The term knowledge comes at beingness level. I have passed on to you the essence of my teachings. With what identity do you recognize yourself now? With what identity did you come into this world? With what identity would you like to quit this world? Normally, people cling to this bodily identity, but now I have thrown overboard this identity. You are not the body. I am asking, what are you? What would be your identity now, since you are not the body? Whatever you would say in words would be incorrect, would be wrong. You are tenaciously clinging to the body as yourself. You must have a firm conviction that you are not the body and not even the consciousness in the beingness. Experiment on yourself. You are witnessing the stick, and you are telling the stick that I am witnessing you. Nothing is useful, no talk is useful when one is by oneself. When one subsides in one's true identity, nothing matters because nothing is. When I subsides, it's all awareness. June 22nd, 1981, in the morning. Maharaj, this consciousness and I amness are due to what? What is the basic material necessary for that to sprout? It is the 5 elements, 3 gunas, and Prakriti Purusha. All those result in this space I am. What do you have except memory? The memory is the result of the 5 elements and 3 gunas, the 8 aspects. So when that basic material is available, only then is memory there. Memory of anything, and finally, most important, the memory that you are. Presently, the feeling that you are is also a memory. To sustain that memory of I am, all these raw materials are necessary. You are not that I am. You are as the absolute prior to this I am. This I amness is the product of these raw materials, but you as absolute are not that. At the most, you might say I am, but what is this I am? I is merely a word. In the first instance, there are words, and then there is merely a memory. Memory you are not. Who has been able to retain his memory as I am? Once all that raw material has gone, where is that memory I am? Your most essential step is to stand firmly on your identity as the dynamic, manifest consciousness principle. You stabilize only here. This is your first step. There is nothing else but the knowledge that you are. Just be that. Nothing more, nothing less. One cannot see rays of light as such. They reflect only when they encounter another object. Similarly, I amness is the interruption because of these 5 elements and 3 gunas. That is why the feeling I am is felt. But without the feeling of I am, still you are. Light itself emanates from the sun. Everything is stored. The 5 elements are there. Therefore, it is reflecting as the sun. Brightness is seen as the sun because something is there. If something were not there, the rays of light would spread all over and become invisible as a source of light. Mahakash is this infinite space. The infinite space is dark. It is as dark as when you close your eyes. In that physical space, all the universe arises and sets and is destroyed. Finally, what is the result of all the experiences that are going on in the play of consciousness? They are just gone, ending up in pure space. The whole world is an ever-changing state. No form will remain permanently. Finally, all the forms will vanish in space and become formless. I am talking directly from my own experience, not from any books. Millions of people, animals, and other beings have come and gone, but the sum total of the universe, has it become more or less? It remains unchanged. Has. They have never become less. They are always there. With all these millions of forms in the world, can my image be left permanently? Presently, you have only the feeling of I amness, and because of that feeling, the whole world is manifested. Once the millions of people have gone, what traces are left of them? Let us forget spirituality for the time being. Among all of my experiences, I had occasions for joy, happiness, and miseries. What part of the miseries or happiness still remains? One who has transcended the consciousness, or one who has seen the end of this, for such a one, where is there the question of any gain or loss? I know full well that this knowingness will not remain. I abide in that no knowing state. So, this being the case, where is the question of one's engaging in activity? With such a spiritual orientation, can one be affected by worldly or family life? June 22nd, 1981, in the evening. Maharaj, both experience and experiencer will disappear. I will not elaborate further. Changes get expressed in the consciousness, and so consciousness becomes subtler and subtler. Forms get dissolved. The first step on the road to spirituality is to develop that conviction that I am not the male or the female. Looking outside for light and sound, all disciples undergo some spiritual experience, and that itself is bondage. They compare their experiences with others. Those disciples think they are very advanced. They are attracted to the experiences of sound and light, etc., because they identify themselves with the body. They want a shape and design. Therefore, they revel in experiences which indicate shape and design. You should be like space. If you pay attention to things external to you, you will be carried away. If you are the space and not the body, then at that stage, the body does not remain as the body, because there is nobody to evaluate the body as body. In Chidakash, you evaluate the world as name and form, but when name and form are dissolved, a dissolution takes place. All forms dissolve in Mahakash. You evaluate a form that it is like this or like that. When evaluation is not there, the mind is not there. It is like space. Chidakash is that raw material by which you evaluate whatever you experience or whatever you observe. In the process of becoming more subtle, the external forms are dissolved into Mahakash. No more names and forms. Simultaneously, the process of evaluation and mind functioning stops, dissolves itself into Chidakash. When both Mahakash and Chidakash become still, it is space only, and you are the space. Because of the external body, the I amness is felt. However, in the absence of the body, the I amness is still there without feeling I am. I am ever prevailing. June 23rd, 1981.
Are we getting close to the end of that section?
That was it. Weird.
I think that's a good place to stop.
Okay.
Any thoughts?
That last part was very dense.
Yeah.
Don't get caught up in his articulation of levels. What does he mean by this? What does he mean by that?
He's just describing what he's letting go as best he can.
think this is a good place to stop. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you all in Zoom land.